G'day ladies and gentlemen, Duckville here. Put your mittens around your kittens. Let's do this. It is going to be a Protoss versus Terran here on Polar Night. This should be a really interesting game. Sorry, a Terran versus Terran. What am I thinking? It's too early in the morning. It's like, well, it's 10 a.m. now. I've been up since 3 a.m. for some reason, but whatever. It's all good. I've been casting a lot of games this week, so that's why I've been up early, I think. But anyway, let's talk about our players firstly, of course. Down here at the bottom side of Polar Night from Team Clarity Gaming, posted up a replay pack a little while ago. It is Elhaym, who does a bit of streaming. You can catch him over there on his Twitch that I just posted there. You can also say hello on Twitter as well. He's a pretty damn good Terran player, and it's really cool to see some different names. Of course, you know, not everyone is fluent with everybody in the scene, and you know, I of course like to look around. I watch a lot of replays each week, and have watched a few of this young gentleman here, and he's quite decent to watch. I'm really impressed with some of the pickups that Clarity Gaming have made. His opponent over here on the top side, as our blue Terran player here for Team Evil Geniuses, it is Demuslim. There has been a little bit of controversy about Demuslim lately, just about some of the various things he's been up to, or not up to, as I suppose depends how you look at it, but not to worry, we can always have a look at his StarCraft. Hasn't had the greatest of years. I don't want to say he's had a terrible year, but he's been in and out of some various tournaments, has had some performances, but nothing really standing out. So I believe, whoops, my finger just randomly sort of sits on a key and then pushes it down. Yeah, I do believe that we will, hopefully we'll get to see him try and push hard next year, and in 2014, or if you're already in 2014, maybe you can post a comment and let us know if he does, get some tournament wins or something, because, speaking from the future, that's kind of cheating though. But let's talk about our game. We did have a Refinery first coming out of Demuslim, a very stable kind of play in this particular matchup. Does tend to lead towards Banshees, as it basically always has. When a Terran goes for a Refinery first, tends to lead to those Banshees. Of course, with the cloak change, it meant that the Banshees can get to cloak a little bit easier. And now, as we can see, he is going to grab the second Refinery as well. So I am assuming that Demuslim is going to go for some Cloak Banshees here. Meanwhile, for Elhaym, he's gone double racks and he's going up to a couple of Reapers. We'll have, well, at least 3. We've already got 1 on the way across. From what I saw on his stream when I was watching a little bit of his stream the other day, he does like to just go nice and sort of, I guess, aggressive early. I don't want to say, like, the thing with Reapers is that they're aggressive, but they're not, I don't know, it's not like they're sort of heavy aggression. It's not like a Banshee where you're going to take a couple of shots and bam, a worker is dead. With the Reapers, you've got to really rely on some good micro. Be careful about the judgment of where you're running around. Like, a lot of the time, some people, they'll sort of, in this example for right now, if you were to run down the back here with your Reapers, you're actually in a lot of trouble because it's a long way to get out of the base, it's a long way to go that way as well. And Elhaym, yeah, there you go, like a little bit of an example there, gets a little bit of high ground vision, but unfortunately does lose one of the Reapers, but now we can see he's got one that's sort of stuck inside the base, but it is keeping an eye on what is going on. A little bit of micro back and forth there from both players, trying to keep an eye on what is happening here in the main base, but it looks like this Reaper should escape just in the nick of time with a little bit of health left over. He will get out of there, so we will keep 2 of the Reapers alive, and following up with an expansion here for Elhaym. So this is something which was quite a popular build, this 2 racks expansion kind of play, where you go really harassment focused right at the start. Polt used to be a very big proponent of this kind of play, and oh, that may have been a bit of a bad decision. Jumps up, and unfortunately one of the Reapers does die down. So basically this kind of harassment is now done. Once you start to lose some of the Reapers, that's when you fall into a little bit of trouble. So, there were a couple of versions of this. You could go for a proxy racks and then go for your expansion and just try and be really aggressive with those Reapers, or you can go for this kind of style where you open up with the double and then follow up with a couple of add-ons here, such as the Tech Lab and then the Reactor. Get some Marines out, get your stim going, and then you're sitting in a nice fancy position here with 2 bases up. We can see that with the awareness of that starport switching over to the Tech Lab there, that Demuslim has been his particular play here has has been detected. Turret almost finished there. Unfortunately, just missed out on finishing that one up, of course. As we can see here, a little bit of micro, and a Banshee can certainly get some hardcore damage done. We've already got 3 kills total on this one. Of course, it does include a Marine at the moment, but Elhaym is going to be careful. Of course, you can't really deal with a Banshee like this until you get your stim up. You need to sort of stim forwards and try and snipe that Banshee down, or if you'd rather, just sort of sit back, try and set up some, maybe get a Viking out, but it looks like he's not going to be able to get that out just for a little bit, as the factory is only just about to complete right now. So Demuslim playing this out quite nicely, lots of micro, as we can see, his APM jumping up to around about 240. And he's going to be, with a second Banshee, he can certainly get lots of damage done now. We can see a lot of these Marines starting to get very low in their health. One of the Banshees, speaking of which, also getting a bit low as well. Lots of worker kills now starting to come out with 4, but I mean, it's definitely a reasonable amount here. And Elhaym, well, he started to lose a lot of his Marines as well. As we can see, he's going to have to be just very careful here. Demuslim, all the while, getting his expansion, moving into what looks to be, I don't know, we got a double expansion coming up from him, so one of the Banshees does die down, sorry, but it looks as if Demuslim is going to just try, well, there's no real massive sign of what he's going to do just yet, but the fact that he's building another Banshee may suggest that we could head into mech. You sort of occupy your opponent with those Banshees, try and keep them, keep them on the defensive, kind of like mutas in a way. And then you get, some mech play rolling. But he is going to head down here and expand. He's sitting up at 34 workers at this current time. We do have there's the second factory, there's the third. Alright, cool. So it is going to be a mech play coming out from the EG Terran. Meanwhile, for his opponent, Elhaym, well, he's got his natural all nice and saturated here with 38 SCVs in total out on the map for him. His stim, of course, is now done. We're going to get a single Viking out. It looks like it's just going to be a little bit of anti-Banshee protection there for Elhaym, as he doesn't want to get caught out by that Banshee again. Like, I mean, we didn't lose a massive amount of workers. We lost 4, but it was a lot of time that unfortunately was taken away from him with those Marines. Had to repair the refinery, if I remember correctly, as well. And, it just sort of, it took a little bit of time to actually be able to sort of stabilize himself here. So Elhaym is going to get his +1 to weapons here. Another Banshee is on the way. We'll see how much damage that can get done. As the Marines are inside the base, they're sitting here. They're ready to rumble, but we'll see if they're able to deflect that Banshee. I mean, the Banshee at this point is probably not going to get a huge amount done. Demuslim should know that stim is done. He'll know that his opponent is going to be in a much better position to deflect a Banshee at this stage. And as we can see, yeah, there you go. Prime example of that. One more shot. Just cloaks out. I mean, that fade out, and it's kind of like a little bit of a dodge there. What we sort of disjointing the shot is what I suppose, just a little bit of Dota terminology there for you guys. But when you sort of dodge a shot like that, when you go into cloak, that's sort of a really frustrating thing, especially when that Banshee is extremely low on health. But it does get another kill there, and grabs a tank, which is nice and important because it means that Elhaym again is down another little piece of his army. So Demuslim is looking to really take advantage here. It looks as if, wow, we're getting a lot of tanks. We're getting some Hellions out as well. No sign of an armory or anything like that. So it looks as if I don't know, I'd hazard a guess that Demuslim is going to look for a push here, especially, well, I'm just a little bit surprised that he hasn't actually decided to move out with that third CC. I kind of feel like it is possible to do that. Now, there are a lot of Marines now out on the map. Another Banshee is getting some work done here at the Natural. But, yeah, I mean, Demuslim's really established a lot of control out on the map right now. Hellions are going to move forwards. They've got their blue flame. They roast up a few of those Marines, dropping a few forward to try and soak up some of the shots. Very nicely done by Elhaym. Takes advantage of his stim and smashes down some of those Hellions before they can get more damage done. So, Demuslim here, there is his third base, and there is the, there's a rebuilding Rax because he's about to lose his first one across the map here. But still no sign of an armory or anything like that. I'm still a little bit surprised that he is not heading up in that direction, just wanting to get up a nice amount of defense here. As you can see, we've got these tanks that will be covering this part of the third base, which is just about to go up. We've got a couple more tanks down here at the back end that are going to be protecting the natural base, and he's just got a lot of, I guess it's a bit of a turtley style at the moment, but there is the armory. Okay, we are going to get some upgrades. I thought he was possibly going to go for something like a 2-base kind of mech push, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about sort of personally for me, really aggressive mech is a very dangerous thing, because if you lose some of the if you lose like your tanks and you lose your I don't know, your Hellions and your Banshees, your Banshees if you go in that direction as well, you could be in a lot of trouble. But Elhaym is now going to drop inside the main base. We've got a double drop with some Marines. They've got their combat shields. They're +1 to weapons and are getting a lot of damage done, really tearing apart that mineral line. A couple of counter kills there for Elhaym as he decides to put the pressure back on his opponent while he sets up his third base. Those Marines have done a nice amount of damage there, killing off 9 workers in total. Nicely done. As we can see, his third base going to drop down some mules, get some more saturation going here, but we are going for a bio style here from Elhaym. So he's going to be sitting on some Marauders, some Marines. What we're going to be relying on here is good movement from Elhaym. He really wants to be able to sort of, you kind of want to be doing lots of dropping. You want to be taking expansions really quickly. Of course, the bonus of a bio-based play is that you are very mobile, very, you can be very active on the map. Kind of like, think of it, if you're not sure, like if you're a Protoss or if you're a Zerg, it's a little bit like playing as a Zerg against the Protoss. You've got a lot more mobility, so you're free to expand because your units are a little bit quicker at moving around. And now, as we can see, Demuslim is actually trying to move around. It looks like he wants to hold position here at this Zelnaga watchtower to keep a little bit of control, sieging up a couple of the tanks as he looks to push forwards and set up some tank lines here. He should be able to get a couple of shots off on those Marauders, but they do escape for now. But Elhaym, like, I do feel like some more drops would be really nice to see here. He's got a couple of units strewn about the map just to keep an eye on things. But as he does look to pick up his +2 to weapons, we're still waiting on, well, where's the... Still waiting on the +2 to armor, but that's not too bad. He's dealing with a little bit of a push now, coming through the left-hand side of the map. A couple of tanks up to the backside here for Elhaym should give him a little bit of protection when Demuslim moves into this area, but unfortunately, Demuslim, wow, he's just absolutely ravaged all of that line. A little bit of perhaps a misclick there from Elhaym, that the Marauders moving forwards, these Vikings controlling the sky for Demuslim, and now Elhaym in a little bit of strife right now. He is getting a drop done at his opponent's side of the map, going to pick up and get out of there as quickly as he can, but the tanks have now established a wonderful siege line here for Demuslim. And, well, he's going to clean up that third base, so Elhaym's going to be stuck down on 2 bases for a little while right now. We can see that his drop's still looking to get a little bit of damage done, but Demuslim, Blue Flame Hellbats, we've got tanks here as well. +1 to weapons is just about to kick in, and I feel as if he doesn't lose this, or this is probably going to go down here. The tanks will certainly trade quite nicely, but they will all fall down in the end, and Elhaym should be able to re-establish that third base, which is quite nice for him. Couple of Marauders, a Marauder and a Marine going to drop out here on the third base. Look to get some damage done, but that single tank that's been here since the dawn of time is going to be able to cover that area. This is like a really good advantage of having a mech play, is if you set up correctly, you should actually have some really good defensive presence if your opponent looks to drop. So Elhaym's got to try and re-establish his economy. We can see he's down at 45 SCVs at the current time. His opponent, Demuslim, sitting on 65 and is doing quite nicely considering he's in a mech play. Now, we were talking before about how with Bio, you want to try and be really, you want to be mobile. You want to perhaps also be taking bases faster than a mech opponent. And that's the little bit of trouble that that Elhaym is having right now, is that unfortunately he's not really getting any real damage done on his opponent's economy. Demuslim has a very effective mech army when used correctly and in the proper tactical positions. A mech army can do all sorts of work against the Bio army. You just have to make sure you are moving correctly, keep those Hellbats at the front. One thing I'm a little bit surprised about is that Demuslim has not picked up his Hellbats and is not trying to drop them on the forces of Elhaym, and like there is a prime example of that. Unfortunately, his Hellbats were not at the front. They ran back for some reason, and now Elhaym takes position here at the Zelnaga watchtower, and certainly could start to rally some of his forces forwards. Now, Elhaym, he's got, well, we've got the 7 racks back at base to try and produce as many units as he can. We can see lots of Marauders flooding the field there as they're obviously a great anti-mech force. They do that bonus damage against the tanks. They also take some bonus damage from tanks as well, so it's important to keep that kind of thing in mind. But Demuslim needs to set up, be very careful in this position here. Of course, there are a couple of ways into this spot, so he needs to be careful about the positioning of all of his tanks and where he sieges them up and how he positions his Hellbats. But we're still... Now, I was just talking about it before, not everyone picks up their Hellbats and drops them in, drops them on their opponent, but I feel as though it is a pretty key technique when you are playing against a Bioforce like this, especially when there are Marauders. Sometimes, if people are going for Marine Tank, you don't have to, just because, like, the Marines will just get slaughtered by tanks anyway, but I don't know, we'll see if Demuslim's going to add it in. Now looking to capitalize on this very exposed, what is it, like a 4th or a 5th base there. Elhaym going to get a, looks like he will get a few kills here, kills off some of the SCVs, may get a little bit of damage on the CC, but I doubt he'll kill it off. Meanwhile, Demuslim scrambling around trying to protect these bases. Very daring of him to go for 2 at once, but I mean, he's had a lot of control, he's had a lot of supply and worker advantage for a lot of this game, so it's perhaps worth it. I like when people take an economic risk, especially. Are you serious? These guys have run all the way across and have not been taken out by anything. Finally, a couple of Hellbats come along, and a single tank is there as well. A large force here from Elhaym is now going to push forwards, maybe a little bit too far. The Hellbats should be able to buffer the tanks, and the tanks will ravage those Marauders and the Marines that are there. Meanwhile, Demuslim now setting up on the left-hand side of the map. Planetary Fortress, a couple of tanks all ready to go. Keep in mind that tanks that aren't in siege mode actually outrange a Planetary Fortress. It's kind of weird, but Elhaym going to try and now get a little bit more mobile, pushing on the left-hand side, down on the ground. This force is now going to push forwards. He's going to run behind the mineral line there. The Planetary Fortress will have a little bit of range on some of these units. Of course, the splash damage from the Ibix cannon should be able to get a decent amount of damage done. The drop is now pushing in the main base of Demuslim. Should be able to get a little bit of work done. Not too much defense here. Finally, the tanks and the Hellbats are now making their way back. The armory was exposed for a little bit there, but is not going to get taken out. A couple of tanks will fall, but not a huge deal here for Demuslim. He's able to reproduce. He's got his, what has he got, like 5 factories in total? Yeah, he's got the 5 factories he's had from earlier on, but Elhaym, he's not going to stand around and just let his opponent push into a good position. He's going to drop here on the 3rd base, get some more damage done with the Marauders and the Marines that are there. All the while, finally getting that 4th base up. Would love to see him pick up a 5th across to the side as well. I mean, as we said, he's got a much more mobile force. He can actually take advantage of the fact that he can run around with those Stim Marines and Marauders and really like harass his opponent. Like, you could possibly look at coming in the back here, sitting down some Marauders, harassing this base while setting up his own base just across the side here. But we will have a big battle in the middle. We can now see Demuslim pushing forward. Some of his tanks at the back are a little bit out of position, and Elhaym going to take advantage of that, being able to snipe down most of the tanks that were at the front. Very nice grab there for Elhaym. Of course, his supply is still far behind Demuslim at this point. He's 20 supply behind and does not have that air control that Demuslim is enjoying at this point. So Elhaym going to try and do a little bit of a run around the back here, trying to take advantage of the fact that those tanks are all sieged up here and may not be able to defend this base, or in fact may go for a double drop inside the main base. But Demuslim may be prepared for this. We've got a couple of turrets that are ready to go, and now the tanks unsieged, moving forwards, trying to come against that Marauder force, are now getting smashed apart by those concussive shells, and now Demuslim is going to lose some of his tanks, falls down to 139 supply, but still has a decent advantage right now. I mean, he's got lots of tanks, and as we said before, playing mech against the bio, it's very tactical, and it's just very dependent on making sure you're sieging and unsieging at the right times and trying to take advantage of an opponent who, maybe spread a little bit more thinly than you are. So Demuslim pushes forward, sieges up some of the tanks. We've even got a random Widow Mines strewn about in this mess of units here for him. And Elhaym, well, again, we're still sitting, yeah, we've got 7 racks, so I would kind of think at this point you'd want to add on a couple more just for some extra production, as Demuslim is now pushing forwards, has set up a really big no-go zone around here. We've got not only a Widow Mine, but a couple of Widow Mines, but those tanks are in beautiful positions to provide coverage on any units that come through the side, and then also with the vision that he has of the high ground because of the Vikings and also those couple of medevacs that are there, he can start to really push on this 3rd base, and these SCVs are wildly exposed right now, getting very low on health. It looks like Elhaym's going to come across, drop in some Marauders and Marines here to try and defend this, but unfortunately already losing a lot of that mining that he had there, and now Demuslim has set up shop, and this has started to become the no-go zone, where because of the high ground vision here, Elhaym not investing in Vikings at all. He's just trying to rely on the fact that his units are, as we said, very mobile, able to stem forwards and smash down units very quickly, but they eventually will get traded out quite nicely by the tanks. So Demuslim has been suffering the wrath of a few drops every now and then, has been trying to deal with things, but has now established his forward position. He's going to look, is he going to look to try and drop on the high ground here? I think he will. I don't know if that's... I think he probably could. It's just this one tank is going to be a little bit annoying at first, but Elhaym has his 4th base and he's going to be mining off that for a little bit, as so far that has gone undetected. So Demuslim, we've got some units now pushing in the back. They are going to try and, again, take advantage of some of these units that are a little bit out of position here for Demuslim. But we've now got this big cluster of tanks, and this is what you really want when you start to push up into a high mech count here, is you want to clump up everything. And if you can do massive amounts of damage. We can see the bio units up at the top getting smashed apart, eventually spreading out. Some really nice splits there from Elhaym, and he does... Oh wow, a couple of these tanks extremely low on health right now, but Demuslim still holds firm. More backup is on the way. Hellbats, tanks, and of course some more medevacs are going to be providing healing support on those Hellbats. It's a little bit interesting that he's continued on that very high medevac counter. I mean, he's not playing bio, and he's not really dropping with the Hellbats or anything like that, and eventually Elhaym does clear out some of these units that are here, but Demuslim now pushing forwards. We've lost the command center, and that is going to be it. Unfortunately, just not able to contend with the power of the mech, and eventually once Demuslim establishes this position here, where you get to fire down on your opponent's production, you get to fire down on the natural and any units that are looking to exit this area, it just becomes a very difficult task here. So Elhaym falling down to Demuslim here in this battle of the G clans, the Evil Geniuses versus Clarity Gaming. Hope you all enjoyed the match. Make sure you share and subscribe and say hello on all the social medias. I'll catch you all next time. Here, as you can see, 47 damage to bio units and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really nicely there. And for Minigun, he's been sticking with a much more